Welcome to The People's View, a program dedicated to discussing local, state, and national issues and their effect on the American people. The People's View provides a platform for state representatives and national figures to present their viewpoint. Whether it's social, economic, or financial topics, you'll hear it on The People's View.
And welcome to The People's View. I'm Representative Kevin Avard, filling in for Representative Pete Silva and Carl Seidel. And I'm happy to introduce my guest, Ms. Pam Coughlin.
Yes.
And you're running for the Registry of Deeds for Hillsborough County.
Yes.
Well, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
I hope you enjoy the water.
Yes, I will.
All right, it comes straight from the fountain. So, Registry of Deeds, and you're running for office. Tell us a little bit. That might be news to people that somebody's actually running for that office. Is that a constitutional office, or?
Yes, it is. Thank you. I appreciate being here. My name is Pam Coughlin. I'm running for re-election for the Registry of Deeds. It is a constitutional elected official, and the registry, basically, we collect all of the transfer tax for any real estate transaction done in Hillsborough County, and we also keep and maintain all of the records and documents that anyone brings in. We secure them and make sure that they're safe and sound. All
right, when we were on camera, or off camera earlier, we were talking about some of the things that you document, and,
yes.
and one of them was basically titles, and you had said that some people may have a mortgage discharged, and just hang on to the title and not realize that it'd be a really good idea to bring that to the Registry of Deeds to have it documented.
Right, we record lots of documents, from deeds, mortgages, easements, liens, any kind of permits from the Department of Transportation. When your mortgage does get released and you have paid it off, and everybody's very happy about that, they have in the past to put the mortgage discharge in a safe deposit box because they think that they really need it there, which is great because they do need to keep it safe, but they do need to come to us and record it so that when there is a title search done, the title abstractor or title lender can find out that, yes, it has been discharged so that they can move on if they want to refinance or sell the property.
Otherwise, it can be challenged, and then it goes through probate, the whole 9 yards, or something to that effect.
Well, what they would do is they could go back to the original lender and say, we've lost our mortgage discharge, could you give us a new one, or that type of thing. Then they would go through the records and say, yes, it was discharged, we have a copy here, or they may still have the original, or they can do an affidavit that says, yes, it has been paid off, and this is when it was paid off. So you can do all that before.
Right, but it's a process. It's best easy to go to there and look you up. And you've done this is your third term that you're running, or fourth?
I am running for my third term. I've been there for 4 years, and I really enjoy it. It's very challenging with the economy the way it is, and people are very creative when they bring in their documents. But
what do you mean by that? They're creative?
Well, they're creative because they try to do their own documents, and there are very specific state statutes that we have to follow. Okay. And if they don't meet those statutes, we have to inform them that we cannot record them. They need to go back and look up the RSAs. And we will give them the RSAs so we can say, this is why we cannot record you. We just, we have to give them something to state or that they can follow back on to say, okay, this is why they did it. And the same thing like with plans, or if there's a certain plat law that we have to follow, and they have to meet those criteria. Otherwise, we have to say, you need to review this. This is the plat law. Go back and review it. Right. And then they'll come back and it will be perfect. And then we can record it and move on. And what we also suggest is if they do have a plan and they want it to be pre-approved, they can bring it into us and we can go through it with them. Because we don't want them to come and record a mortgage or a deed and then find out, well, the plan is not up to the state statute.
Right.
So we will advise them, if you want to come in, we can go through it first so that the day that they do close, everything can be recorded right away.
Now, have you worked for an attorney's firm, or is it good that you have that type of a background?
For me, I do. I worked for an attorney for over 20 years, and I also worked at a title abstracting company. So that helped me with like the different type of documents that come forward.
And statute and all that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah. So, and it's great too because 90% of our work is customer based. So it's very nice interacting with everyone and making sure that they're happy when they leave. And if we can't do something for them, to direct them in a direction that that, they can come back and say, great, we can record it now.
So leaving City Hall with a smile?
Yes.
That's a great campaign slogan. Good
Yes.
luck. Wonderful. So how many people generally go through your office on an average on a yearly basis?
We can record up to about 200 documents a day, so that can, that's what we're doing now. At one time, like in the 80s, they were doing like 900 documents a day. So it just depends upon, what's going on, and we have a process. They come to the recording office first, and they check all the documents, make sure they're fine. We get the recording fees, make sure the it's appropriate fees. Then we'll record it, and then we'll move on to like the indexing, and they'll index it in so that within 15 minutes, because we are e-filing and doing electronic documents, they can see that in 15 minutes online.
Okay.
And then after you do the indexing, we do proofreading, then we verify them, make sure that everything is accurate, and then we return the documents to the individuals.
Sounds like you do library work.
It is. It is. It's very safe and sound, and we have to make sure they're secure, that once we've got them recorded, that the security and the privacy of the individual is very important. So we make sure that, that they're aware that they don't want their Social Security number on their documents, or they don't want their credit card numbers on their documents. So we'll say, geez, do you realize that once you bring this and gets recorded, it goes out into the internet? And they'll say, oh, no, we didn't know that. So they'll go back and they can get their attorney to advise it, take out their Social Security number, take out their credit billing, their credit card number, so that it's not out on the internet. So we do that, like just, advise them. We can't give them legal opinion, but we can advise them that, do you realize that this is what can happen? And so they will come back, and then we can move forward. Or if it has in the past, like in the 70s and 80s, a lot of people do have their Social Security numbers there. They can fill out a form, and we can redact it on the original documents and on the internet.
Oh, that's good. That's good information. Well, now that it's out there, obviously people can look that up. But it's important for them if they want to protect that, especially in this age of identity theft.
Right. And talking about identity theft, we have Property Fraud Alert, and you can go to our.
Is that green?
Oh, probably is.
I'm teasing. We're probably going to have some technical problems with that. So what is this?
That's okay. What you can do is you go to our website, and what you do is you go put your name in by either an 800 number you can call, or on your website, and put in your email. And if something comes up with your name on it, they will send you an email, or they'll call you and say, this has been recorded in your name. Are you aware of this? If not, you can call the AG's office, and they will help you so that that you know that something's being recorded on your property ahead of time, instead of waiting like 10, 15 years down the road saying, oh, there was a lien put on my property, I was never aware of that.
And you never know, and that's happening.
Oh, yes, it has happened.
What are some of the ramifications to that? If somebody's actually put a lien on it and you didn't owe them something, is that what's going on? Or
That is the possibility, especially with the economy the way it is, that what they can do is they go to the AG's office, and they can go back and find out, well, is this a real, like, mechanics lien or something like that? If it isn't, then they can prosecute. If it is something that you were not aware of, or you just forgot, you say, oh yeah, I remember that now, that happened back when, so and so.
But if you've had a clean slate and somebody's put a lien on your property to leverage for whatever,
right,
that's happening.
That has happened.
Oh, that's
yes.
interesting.
And you would have to go to court and get that lien taken off, so that you can have a clear title. Or some people say they put a $100 lien or a $50 lien on your property, you don't remember, they just go ahead and pay it. So it's a good idea to make sure that, if something's going to be put on your property, you're aware of it ahead of time.
That's valuable information. That's
Yes.
very important.
So that's why we say, and it's a free service. You just go on our website. There's no cost at all.
And what is that website again?
It's www.nhdeeds.com.
nhdeeds.com.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Now, how many people are in your office that work? You don't do this all by yourself.
No. I have a staff of 16. I just recently had one retire. So, but we have individuals like in the recording office. It's like divided among the different departments. And a lot of them have been there from like 3 years to like 29 years.
And they all answer to you?
Yes, yes.
Right. So what was it like when you were first elected and you came into the office and, well, there's some veterans there that they've been there 20 years or whatever, and they said, oh, we have a newbie. How is that for you? How do you get everybody to work with you?
Well, that's interesting because the individual registrar that was there before had been there for 28 years. So, you know, coming in, and I probably have definitely different management skills, but I came in, I introduced myself to everyone, I sat down and talked with everyone, you know, just asked them, you know, what was going on, if they had any questions, and just went slowly. And they were learning me as I was learning them.
I'm sure they have a lot to offer and to get you acclimated to it. So it's not, it's like drinking out of a fire hose the first year, I would assume. I know as a state rep, my first year, I was amazed at the amount of information that we had to absorb in such a short amount of time.
Right.
I would imagine that's similar to
It's very
office.
similar, but at the same time, we do have a New Hampshire Deeds Association, and we meet once a month, so there's a registrar from every county. So any questions I had, I could pick up the phone and say, okay, what is the process? What is, you know, what are the other registrars doing? Because we're all doing things very similarly, but some of the other counties, they're like, some of them still in dial-up, so they don't do like e-recording like we do.
Right.
Like Hillsborough
So
County
every county is
does.
different. Okay.
They have different things, but some of the basic things are the same. So I have that avenue too, and also with the staff, if there's a question or something. Okay, what has been done in the past? How can we move forward? Keep it moving forward.
So let's talk about moving forward. What have you done to improve the agency, if you don't mind? That's my tough ball question with you. Are there things that you had to incorporate in your term that would be relatively new to the registry? Or is it pretty much let's just keep everything going smooth?
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Like with this property fraud alert, that was new.
Right.
Basically, everything else is very similar to what has happened in the past. Unfortunately, during the budget cycle last session, we did have to lay off 3 people, so that kind of changed things again, where we went forward with everyone in a department was cross-trained, so everyone knows what was going on.
Oh, good.
And then now we've gotten to the point where now it's trying to cross-train outside of each one. So going down to right now where there's 14 staff, everybody needs to know what's going on and moving forward. So if one department is shorthanded, somebody can just jump in and move forward. So that the customers, which 90% of our business is customer-oriented, that we have to make sure that they're taken care of first, and then we move.
So the cross-training is being proactive is
Yes.
something that you had to incorporate, especially with the downsizing.
Yes.
Because you know, the money's not there.
Correct.
We have to be frugal. And are you stretched? Are you at the point where, you know, if we lost one through a sickness or something, that you couldn't survive? Or I mean, how?
Well, I don't know if we couldn't survive. It would just be a little more of the cross-training. We would have more at the front end of it, because you have to get the instruments recorded. It may take a little while to maybe mail them back, answer the phone. So that type would be a judgment that way.
I mean, more of a backlog than anything. But okay. So why do you want to run again? It's because you like the job.
I do. I really like the job. I like working with people. I like helping them, you know, solve their concerns if they can, direct them in an area so that they can get what they need.
And it sounds like you're good at it.
I enjoy it, so hopefully, yes.
I guess you are going to be, there is some competition.
Yes.
And, you know, I haven't talked to any of them at this point, but it seems like you've been doing it. No complaints, obviously.
No, none that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Right.
And the importance of this particular job is basically just to keep everybody's records protected.
Right.
It's not something anybody thinks about. I mean, we're all thinking about the major elections, but this is one of those elected officials that. Okay, sure. I don't. You know, you go on the ballot, you say, "Oh, I'll check this person's name."
Second from the bottom on the ballot. So if people go all the way down to the bottom.
So look for people.
Yes.
Look
yes,
for you.
Definitely. Right. It's very important because the most important, probably not the most important, but one of the most important money buying strategies that you do in your life is buying land, buying your home. And so you want to make sure it's protected. And you want to make sure whoever gives you those documents, that they're protecting them too. And we do have a very good company that is doing our software that does protect them. And we do have the back end of it in the software is they are encrypted so that nobody can just come in, and if they would want to hack them, that they would be really hard. and that and if they did get them, they'd have to have an encryption to be able to get into what the documents are saying. So we try to protect them that way so that their privacy, the security, and maintaining them is very, very important.
So we're in a situation where if it's not broke, don't fix it. Vote for you.
Yes,
right?
that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Well, the reason I say that, there are always, when a new person comes in, there is that learning curve. You've
Yes.
been in here a couple of terms. This isn't like one of those political situations where, you know, it's a Democrat versus Republican, and it's going to make a huge difference. It has to do with somebody who's competent to do the job.
Right.
Correct?
I believe that, and I also believe, since, you know, I have been on a school board for over 13 years. I was a state rep for 10 years, and then I've been doing this hopefully would be my 3rd term. I also have 4 children, and my husband was deployed to Iraq for 3 times. So I think all of that, with being able to manage and move forward, I understand a lot of what people are going through, like trying to pay their bills and on time and live within their means.
And you've been from New Hampshire for a while.
I was born and raised in Portsmouth, so I am a native.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that a lot of this comes forward because I can manage my time and my energies to make sure that things run smoothly.
Right, and public service is obviously in your blood.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I know your daughter's here in the studio, and she's wearing green. We're not going to have her come out here because she'll just blend in, but she's obviously proud of you.
Yeah,
and,
I hope so. Thank you.
And well, congratulations. Is there anything else you want our viewers to know about your campaign? How can they get in touch with you?
They can contact me on my home email, which is coughlin.jp@gmail.com, or they can call my home phone, which is 673-0998.
998. And this is for Hillsborough County?
Yes, only Hillsborough County, yes.
Okay. And look for second from the bottom?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming on The People's View.
Well, thank you. I
right.
really appreciate it.
And good luck to you, and we hope to see you checked off and win.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us with The People's View. We hope this was informative, and if you want to get in touch with Pam, please do. If you have any issues with deeds, obviously give her a call, and she can walk you through it and help you out. And we hope you're the best.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. And welcome back to The People's View. I'm Representative Kevin Avard, filling in for Pete Silva and Carl Seidel. And I want to introduce my guest, Mr. Dennis Hogan. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
I appreciate being brought in.
Yeah, well, congratulations on your past elections. You were county attorney.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And
since 2010, I was elected in 2010. We started off in January 2011.
Yeah. Little history. Prior to that, you had your own practice?
I did. I had my own practice, working in really pretty small stuff, injuries, collections, a little bit of bankruptcy, and you know, so I enjoyed it. But this is going into something that is both criminal law. Oh, and I did do a little bit of defense work as well. Right. Both criminal law and then the politics of it, having to run for it. You know, that just struck me as something that would really suit me. So it's a leadership position, and you know, that my background outside of law has a lot of, you know, leadership positions in it, you know, where we did things to make sure the team won. Yep. And that's what this is all about, is making sure the team wins, because there's 20 attorneys in the office, and you know, if I tried to do it all myself, forget it, it wouldn't get done. The important thing is, yeah, the team has to work well together, and that's what I'm all about, is making a great team and getting the job done. And, you know, that's how, you know, we want to be tough on crime. Well, the way for me to make sure we're tough on crime isn't just to say the words, but to make sure that we're effective, right. That we use our resources in an effective way, and then if we're working well, that we're going to be able to pressure the other side into having to accept, you know, the pleas that we want them to accept, or be ready for the trials that we want, you know, that we want to take the trial and win them. So that's what it's all about. That's how you be tough on crime.
With all the budget cuts that you know, we've had to be faced with,
yep.
You know, because of obviously the economy is, you know, we're struggling. Right. How does that affected you in your office?
Well,
what did you have to do to?
We had to accept the 6% reduction in our budget, and so the question is, how did we manage to do more work? Because we actually did more work. We get more felony cases in the years that I've been there than we did in the year prior. So, how did we manage to handle that with 6% less? And the answer is, I think the people we brought in are better able to handle it than the people that had to leave while I was there. So We've got people that can come in and with their experience, with their great work ethic, they come in, they look at a file, they know what to do with it quickly. And that's the real key to handling a lot of cases, is knowing what to do when you first look at it.
Right.
And not wasting time running down a case that you really ought to let go, or, not let go. I don't want people to think we're just letting go cases, but there's a continuum when it comes to
You have to prioritize.
which one. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Which ones are you going to really spend a lot of time on, and which ones you want to do something with that's going to, make it spend less time on it. For example, something comes in and it could be negotiated as a misdemeanor in the lower court where it's kind of come from in the first place. For a prosecutor to know that quickly and then call down, the prosecutors in the district courts, or now the circuit courts, and be able to say, look, here's how we want you to handle that. Boom, it's taken care of really quickly, and then that prosecutor can go on to the things we really want to take to trial because they're serious and they're bad people that we want to put in jail.
Right, and obviously, protect the public.
Right, that's what it's all about.
When you were first elected, what were some of the obstacles that you had to overcome? I mean, obviously, and again, I've talked with other people and letting them know that when you first get into an office, you're a freshman, if you will.
Yes.
There's a lot to absorb. You had to get a lay of the land.
Right.
Now that you're running again, you obviously want to see some things through. Talk a little bit about when you first got in. What are some of the obstacles? And I know as a state rep that there's some jobs that, oh my God, I got to finish this because this has to be done.
Yeah. Well, okay, so for me, entering in the first term, I saw the history of people having some trouble with the office.
Yeah.
And being worried that I would go through and make those same troubles or have those same troubles. And some of it, a lot of it was, in the interaction with the staff. And so I trusted myself, first of all, to understand that I could lead. And part of trusting myself was trusting the staff.
Right.
And so I did that. I went in and I took them all at face value. I told them, look, I'm the son of a guy who spent his career working at the will of the mayor. Okay, so I know what it is to be someone who's just wants to do a job, and there's political people that come in and out. So I told them that. I said, that's my perspective. I'm not just some guy who's going to come in here and rewrite everything. I'm going to expect you to understand what's going on and help me make sure we don't make mistakes as a group. So that's how I handled it.
Right.
So as we look forward, though, your question is what things, basically what I'd like to move forward and work on. I've always said from the first time after graduating from law school, I was on the radio. From that very first time, I've always been saying what we really should be doing with the criminals, the people who are committing a lot of crimes, especially when they have a problem that's causing them to do it, right?
Like a drug addiction.
Like a drug, exactly, a drug addiction. Okay,
Right.
We've got them right there. We've got something held over them, right? We should use that to cure them if we can, to really make them go out and get the help that they need, not just throw them in prison for a while and then have them come back. Really go after them.
Because then
what's
you have
between
the
their
recidivism,
ears.
and it costs the taxpayers all kinds of money, and we're
Exactly.
not really fixing the problem.
Right. That always struck me as the way to go, and I've been saying that on the national airwaves and whatever I've been on since day one. Well, we're getting to that point. That we're working right now with the courts to do what other jurisdictions have been doing, and the courts want to do this. It's called a drug court, and what it is that we have the person, we have jail time, or prison time, I should say, over their heads. And we're going to make them, what they do in other jurisdictions, they have those people come back weekly. How's your blood, how's your urine? Is it clean? What are you doing this now to get a job? What are you doing to make sure you're with the right people?
It's a type of parole.
It is a type, but it's, because they'll have a parole officer with this, and they'll have a team that's on their case, literally on their case, not in the figurative sense, but and that team will be there in front of the judge, and that's how you get them away from the drugs, and that's what we need to do, because right now there's so many cases that are being created by drugs. I mean, not just the possession ones, because it's a drug.
Prescription?
Yeah, not just possession of the prescriptions, but what people do because they're then addicted. The violence that actually violence isn't going to be part of the whole drug court, but the thefts, the burglaries, all the copper that's being stolen throughout the county,
That's drug related, huh?
Oh yeah,
I
as
know
soon as
that
they get caught, they're like, oh, you know, I'm sorry, you know, I really needed the money, and
One
then
of the
we throw them in prison, and they sit there for a while, and then they come out, and they haven't really been cured. The judge that, you know, we spoke to, I actually went to one of these meetings today, but the judge was explaining how it works in other jurisdictions. He says these people find it harder to have to get themselves out of the drugs than they do just sitting around for the year or two that you put them in. That's the easier thing to do, and then they get out and they do the same exact thing.
I know that some people actually go through the process of injuring themselves, either break their legs or their ribs or find some type of ailment to get into the emergency room in order to get that prescription drug. And, you know, we see that, you see it on intervention on TV, or you know.
I haven't seen it that serious, but they certainly lie. We've certainly seen examples of people lying, well, impersonating a police.
I know a couple of X-ray techs. They work in the emergency rooms, and they see this repeatedly. Wow. One of them actually works in Lowell, and on a regular basis, there's the broken arm, there's the broken wrist, there's, you know, and they're actually injuring themselves in order to get that.
That's astonishing.
Yeah, and it's
well, it just
rampant.
goes to show how much in their grip it is, and just throwing them in prison isn't going to get them out of that grip.
So this prevention, this type of situation where you're trying to help them heal themselves, if you will, through drug intervention of some sort. Yeah. What else are you looking to advance, if you will?
Well, beyond that, there's nothing in particular that programs. I mean, it's my job to set the policy and the culture of the office, and that's what I've done from the beginning. I mean, right from the beginning, I said, look, just do your job. You go out and prosecute. I'll handle those things that you know, there's so many different programs and other agencies and levels of government that want to interact with our office. I take care of that. So I've taken that away from the prosecutors, let the prosecutors do the prosecuting. And I'll do that sort of political stuff. Yeah. You know, it's not the kind of position like a legislator where you're thinking, well, I got to push this, this, and this. If we're just running effectively, that's great. And that's a day-to-day thing. So, I mean, it's making sure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and we do evaluations, and that keeps us busy. You know,
do you keep an eye on the legislator as far as some of the pending things that are coming through the judicial?
You know, I didn't. When I first started, of course, I was focused on what I was doing, so I didn't pay that much attention. And as I'm getting more accustomed to what I'm doing, I'm able to start to look around and see what
I'm sure some of the stuff that we're looking at eventually trickles down. And
well, I mean, one of the things I looked into was, you know, how much prosecution has changed, because I'm thinking about why is it so expensive to run my office, and why has my office grown from, you know, like 3 attorneys back in the 70s to the 20 that we have now. And you know, there are
20 attorneys in there?
Yes, and there are reasons, and the good reasons. I mean, a misdemeanor, you know, some sexual offenses that we just make us, you know, aghast because they're so horrible were misdemeanors back in the 70s. And there's certain drinking, you know, and driving stuff was misdemeanors that now can be considered felonies. The strangulation is a very new one. We have a lot of strangulation cases. Well, strangulation now is instead of being well, they've defined, you know, if you
put your hand on somebody's neck.
Yeah, put your hand on their neck and impede their breathing and make them their voice change. Strangulation, and that's a felony where it wasn't before.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that increases our workload.
Oh.
I made a list, which I don't have off the top of my head, but those are a few examples that have increased the workload of the county attorney. So yes, absolutely. Of course, the statutes that you write affect what happens. And I'm telling people, look, it's one thing that you want to be tough on crime, but every time you say, you know, let's make this a felony because we want to be tougher on crime, you know, it comes with a price.
So when something moves,
well, you know,
when something comes into your jurisdiction, it's more or less on a felony level?
Yeah, right. So
So somebody who's getting a traffic ticket, or somebody who steals a
small amount.
Small amount.
Those are traffic ticket violation. The second thing is stealing a small amount is a misdemeanor, which is handled in the circuit court. It used to be called district courts. And then we handle the felonies, which are more serious. You know, check fraud. The assaults that are beyond simple assault.
Mail fraud or something to that effect?
Well, mail is federal because it's the mail, but you know, if you're stealing a large amount of money, if you're doing burglary, all the way up to, you know, homicides, but not murder. So, so that's the gambit that we had. The worst of the worst, really. You know.
Right.
I mean, all the sexual offenses that are part of the assault continuum, those are part of what we handle. So, and then also we handle if a person has the right to appeal their conviction on a misdemeanor, so they can appeal it to the Superior Court, and we handle those as well.
Right. So nothing to do with marital issues or anything
No
to that
marital
effect?
issues, no.
Or,
No marital issues. And it was a few years ago, sometime in the early 2000s, where they took away from my office the responsibility of civil matters that have to do with the county, and they have their own attorney for the county. It works separately from us, and it's a great resource actually for us. But.
All right, so you work specifically, do you work under the auspices of the Attorney General, I would assume?
Yes,
right?
that's right. So we, by the statute, the county attorneys are in place of, I should say, the AG,
right.
but for the county. So,
right.
yeah, we work, and so yeah, that's one of the interactions that we have with the AG. And we talk about where the law is, and because we want to know what they think of the law and whether they think maybe the courts aren't doing it right. Should we take this? Will they take it? I should say, on an appeal, because if we lose on our level and we want something appealed, the AG's office has to agree to that, because they're the one that are going to do the appeal. We can't just. So we need to know. Where are you going with the law? What do you think the law says? Because if the court doesn't agree with you, will you take it on an appeal or not? So we work hand in hand with the AG.
If an individual has an issue, say with the state, and they want to file suit against the state, for instance, if there's a malfeasance from a director of a department, do they go to you?
No.
Or do you defend the state, or do you defend?
We're always prosecuting on behalf of the state.
Okay, all right. So it's
on criminal matters.
Right.
So I mean that wouldn't have any. The example you said wouldn't have.
I'm only reflecting to my committee. So
yeah.
where all that goes is in under the Attorney General's auspices, if you will.
Yeah, and of course the Attorney General would be defending the person that you'd be suing. So you probably have to get a private attorney to do something like that.
Right. Yeah, it's a complicated. I'm still learning. There's too much. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn. Right?
I have people that say to me, "Well, what's the law on this?" And I'll say,
"Really?
I don't know."
And
they'll say, "Well, why don't you know? Aren't you a lawyer? Didn't you go to law school?" I say, well, that's not the law that I work with. I mean, maybe I took a class 10 years ago, but
right.
I don't know anything about it now.
That's why there's specialists in just about every
That's why
field.
there's specialists, and that's why you research everything you do.
Do you get engaged in any particular cases, or do you just oversee the entire department?
Well, mostly I oversee, but I did want to make sure that I got into doing cases. So I've taken a few cases just to learn what's going on and see how things work. And it helps me with the administrative part of it to know what's going on. You don't want to be totally closed off.
Yeah,
but
as soon as you
really,
remove yourself.
I don't have time to take, a major case that would take a lot of time. My choice would be to do that, and then I have to pass off things that I wanted the office to do onto somebody else. And I think that's too confused. I used as a model the Rockingham County attorney. I went to him actually before I ran for office, and I said, "How was the job done? How do you do it? You go to court?" No, he doesn't go to court. He says, "I have plenty to do administrating." They actually have a few less attorneys than the Hillsborough County. And I said, "Okay, well that's he's actually one of the leaders in the National District Attorneys Association, so he knows what he's talking about."
Right. So
I got good counsel from him. I modeled myself after him, and that's the way I do it. So.
Oh. And right now you are not being primaried at this point.
No primary.
So
I think the Republicans are very happy with the way I do things, and happy with the results that we've had, despite being reduced by 6%. So let's see.
Well, you have to do with what's given to you.
Right.
That's no more, no less. Did you have to go to any type of arbitrations with your offices or anything? Were they content with what you had? Obviously, there's going to be grumbling.
Well, there certainly is, and the morale is hurt by the fact that there isn't more resources coming into it. They're basically saying that it's hard for people to be told, look, we're valuing it, what you're doing at less, when in fact what they're doing is probably increasing in value.
Right.
It's really only, and I tell them it's purely a reflection of the economy. It's not a reflection on you. The legislators just feel that they have less money they should be spending, and that's and I tell them, look, the reason we're able to do it is because you guys are great.
Right.
I mean, if you couldn't do it, you know, we'd have a problem. But the reason we're able to get it done is because I'm keeping on the best people.
Well, I know when we first got in there to the office, we had to take a monumental task. There was an 11% budget decrease that we had to look at.
Right. Yeah, on the state level.
On the state level,
Yeah.
and
on the county level, that was reduced by 6%, basically because the federal government's stimulus money was no longer coming, and it was made additionally hard because of the increase in what we call roll-ups. You know, you have basically things that go along with, and so they say roll up, go along with salary, and so they're rolled up. Those roll-ups, I had reduced the budget just looking at it the first time by 2%, and the roll-ups came in, and it was even again. So the roll-ups increased by 2%. I had to decrease by 6%. So really, in the terms of what everybody felt, it felt like an 8% cut, and then 2% additional. So it's tough, but
and that's real numbers.
yeah, and that's so. And one of the things we did, one of the first things I did is that we won't pay for the attorneys' bar fees and dues. So that was really for myself and for the attorneys there. That was a pay cut.
What do you foresee in this next term? Do you see more cuts coming? Do you see?
Well, there was only a 2% reduction in this next budget, the budget that we're now working in today, which as we go forward, it's funny, I think of it in terms of almost when you're looking at the greater sports and you're talking about the sports salary caps. As long as I'm aware of because salaries are the big part of what the budget is.
And you have to retain good help.
Right, but you just have to realize as you go out and replace somebody that if you could replace somebody for less, a real sharp new person, you can stay within the budget instead of hiring all the many people who come to you with a lot of experience who you'd love to take on, but you just don't have the money. So it's really like working with a salary cap, looking at the whole roster and saying, well, we have people who have a great deal of experience. Those are our Larry Birds, and then we need some people on the who are rookies and haven't proven themselves yet, and so they're not making as much money. And so that's how we've dealt with it. It seems kind of simple when I say it, but it takes the discipline to do it, and it takes going out ahead of time and figuring out who those people are that are potential employees for us to do a good job. And I've done that by going to the law schools and talking to new individuals and even law students and having the law students come in and do some work and get to see them. So,
has technology challenged you or the office at any point with? We had an individual from Pam from the Registry of Deeds talking about how that people are actually getting some of their, I think, what was that, liens on certain properties, and it was kind of an identity step.
Yeah, the illegal liens, yeah.
But now the technology is in, does that just create a higher workload for you?
Well, no, I don't think so. I mean, people are going to get in trouble because they're going to get in trouble. I mean, technology. I mean,
But you have to keep up with all of this.
We do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certainly cases of child pornography in computers that we have to deal with that, or in the iPhone, that sort of thing. We see that. When you started talking technology, though, I was thinking about how we didn't progress into technology, which was disappointing to me. The entire state is going to be on one computer system, and the federal government had given some grant money to do that. And I pushed and pushed and pushed and tried to get Hillsborough County to go along with that, but I wasn't able to do it. And Hillsborough County is going to be kind of out of the loop in a few years because everybody else is going to have great software technology for handling files and managing files, and we're going to still be with our paper files. And eventually, I think the court, because the federal court has done it, they said, look, you want to file a case, you have to do it electronically. Now, it's only a matter of time before the state court says that's how everyone's going to do it. And Hillsborough County is going to have to then catch up, going to have to spend the money that would have been given to us by the federal government. They're going to have to spend it for Hillsborough. The reason we didn't do it, well, the strings attached was that we needed to upgrade what we had already. That was a string attached. But we had to upgrade anyway.
Right.
So to me, it was no string attached. It was just an unwillingness to spend the money.
I know a lot of people are leery of receiving money from the federal government because they never seem to follow through. And once the money runs out, then now all of a sudden you have to keep something up.
Yeah, I know. I understand all those things, but this particular thing didn't have that. I mean, it was we were going to get into a software that had was going to cost us less over time. than the one that we presently have. The one we presently have is going to go away eventually, so we're going to be forced into it at some point anyway. The courts are going to there. You know, it would have just been.
Well, it's something.
It was the thing to do, but.
Is it too late to get into the program in the next
In
couple
terms
of
of the, well, it's never too late to buy the software. The point is, at some point, we're going to have to spend the money to. One of the funny things about the office and working with the county is the IT department is the county. You know, the county runs my IT. So everything to do with my computer is run by the county. And if I think we should spend a lot of money on software, well, it doesn't really matter. I have to go through the county to do it. And there's literally a wire or cable that goes from our office in Nashua up to either Manchester or Goffstown. So it needs to be faster. It needs to have more capacity or what have you. But you can't do it because we're in a historic building and you'd have to dig a hole or something, and that would cost money. And, these are the things that make me go, oh my God, this is government, isn't it? Because when I started my own, I was telling you, starting my own practice, the first thing I did, I didn't have a client, I didn't have $1. I went out and invested money in software. This is how I was going to run my office. If it became 500 attorneys, we were going to have software. If it was never had another attorney, it was just me, I was going to have software because that's how I was going to organize. Well, so different at the government level.
Yeah.
There's people in my office that have Windows 03 on their computer. Yeah, grimacing, right?
Yeah, it's not funny.
And that's part of what we had to upgrade to have this software is we couldn't have 07 one place and 03 another place. We had to have everybody the same. So of course you're going to upgrade from 03. You're not going to have everybody go down to 03, right? You're going to have everybody upgrade to the new, and that was going to cost money. So it's those initial costs, which we ought to be doing anyway, I would argue, that we didn't want to do because everybody was scared that the legislators weren't going to give us any money. So.
You're pointing to me, right?
Well, you're a legislator in the delegation, but you didn't participate on the county level as much as some people do. And I'll tell you, one of the things that disappoints us. Yeah, it's a very funny system that people get elected, and I know this from having been elected back in '84. You get elected to the state legislature, not realizing that you are also responsible for the county. And then what do you do?
Yeah.
And so what happens is there's certain people that are very interested in the county, and they end up running the show.
Right. And of course, I'm still in committee now. Our committee is still meeting. Everybody else is on vacation.
Yeah.
So we're doing extensive work and research, and it's I think we have 1 or 2 more weeks. So pretty much through the summer. We're one of the very few committees. And it's daunting. Today we had a committee, and we were there 6 or 7 hours, something like that, and just on one case, and it was founded. But we had to go through all the documentations, all the affidavits, and then we argue amongst ourselves, and it's quite grueling. So if you're in a committee like this, it's difficult to do both. It really is. I mean, I've made a few, county meetings.
I think it's fascinating that your committee, the grievance committee, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
That not having it for all these years, and then people immediately were on board with the whole idea. The citizenry it was like there was pent-up demand. Yeah, which tells you something.
There is a problem, and there's a few problems that we have seen. We've seen systematic problems, and it's not that any Joe can just come up and say, yeah, I hate the state. You have to sit before our committee, file a grievance, and you have to have a petition or a sponsor to say, okay, I will represent you, and it has to be a state rep. So they basically vet you in the beginning. Then it has to go before Rules Committee. They have to hear it. They have to approve it. Then it goes before an initial hearing. Then you come in with your documentation. We're 2 years into this on some cases.
Wow.
And then, for instance, today, we just finally, the Haas case, he was founded, and we went through all the documentation again. And by the time you've done that process, if it's founded, it's founded.
Was Haas one you had on your show? Because I think I watched him.
Nick Haas.
Yeah, I think I watched him.
Definitely founded. We're still working on the Yusuf one. That'll be next Tuesday. The David Johnson was founded. A number of these have been founded, but they've gone through a series of vetting processes, and the veracity of the information that they bring to us is looked at glared at. And the committee chairman, Ingridson, he will, you got to make sure you have your facts.
Yeah.
So if they're there, because the implications are serious. If there's a state agency that is harming individuals because they're acting improperly, or if there's an individual that works for the state, they need to be accountable to the people. And for allowing people to get out there and express their pain is important. And it allows a little bit more accountability. If people feel that their Justice Department or an agency is insulated to the point where they don't have to follow any rules, then basically that whole system becomes, you look at it with a jaundiced eye. You have to have faith in your justice system. Yeah. You're the justice system. You're there. Sure. We have to depend on you. And that there, one or two bad apples can really hurt your job, because it creates a disrespect for your office. We have to protect that. And we have to protect the citizens at the same time. Yeah. So I think Speaker O'Brien having this committee had some foresight. And I hope if it changes its title, at least they'll have an oversight responsibility, so that government agencies knows that there's an eye out there. Because if you can practice what your agency without any scrutiny, that just breeds problems. You have to keep an eye on your employees as the county attorney. They have to know that they're responsible to you, and of course, state agencies need to know that they have they have at least a voice. People have a voice, and so
I think it's important to interject, the electorate in some point in the process. I mean, that's what I think is interesting about the county attorney's office, or the office of county attorney. It's the only place, from the beat cop all the way up to the attorney general, that the electorate gets to say, "Oh, we're putting this person in charge." It's the only place there.
You're accountable to the people.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so it forces me to go out and meet with people. It forces me to come on. Not that I don't love coming on anyway, but I have incentive to come on a show like this and explain what the office does, and I have an incentive to take calls from people. Right. And sometimes they're coming from left field. Yeah. And other times I separate the chaff from the wheat from the chaff, or however that goes. Yeah, you're right. And I go, oh, this guy's got a legitimate thing he's talking about here. Let's do something about it.
And that's the thing. There are some people
I'm curious from your committee, how many have you found? That yes, there's a problem, and how many says no? You've got to.
We've had a few.
We don't get your gripe, basically.
We've had a few that we've not gotten, and there are a couple. And when they come up and lie to us too, I take that very seriously. And we had one case where the individual was, repeatedly lying to us, and we did our research. Wow. I probably would have gone a little harder than the chair. He was actually very gracious. We just dismissed it as unfounded. I would have sought some retribution, only for the fact that the people that do come before our committee are relying on this being there. And God help us if we find somebody and it actually turns out to be a lie. We have to protect the integrity of our committee. Yeah. And he's done a very good job at doing that. So not everyone gets founded. Some of them we are scratching our head, I'm honest. Some people also, when they come before the committee, I think there's something there. It's just that they didn't get their evidence put in a proper, if you come in with a shoebox.
Yeah, right, you can't prove anything.
I can't go through that. Yeah. We've had people come in with piles of paper. What do you want me to look for? I can't do that. Right. We have all these other cases. So we had a Denise McIntosh here. She's an independent, what do you call that, person, paralegal.
Oh, yeah, I know Denise.
And basically, she offers a service where she can help somebody with their evidences. So then you can bring it before the committee, or you can bring in an attorney. I know the town of Rochester actually brought in their attorney on a particular case, and it didn't seem to help them because there were some things that were wrong. But for the most part, when you get to the stage of today, you've got your ducks lined up. But not everybody can do that. So when you come before the committee, it is very, very important that you have your information, you have it indexed, you make a statement, you support it with a document. We don't want to hear the story. because the stories go on and on and on, and it goes down this rabbit hole,
Yeah.
this rabbit. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
And
I've had some conversations on the phone that it's that, and you go, okay.
thank you very much. And well, anyway, that's. But
I think it helps to have them. I mean, for myself, I think it helps to have those conversations. You know, you want to talk to me, that's fine. Call me. You know, I'll listen.
Vent. Do it.
If that's what it takes to. You know, because who am I working for?
You're working for all the people.
Working for the people.
Right.
So, you know,
Both the bright and the
I'm
not
at
so
my
bright.
desk. It's time to work.
Yep.
If you're calling and you're talking my ear off, well, you know, do your best to make it make sense. But you know.
If the people know
And
they
the
can,
same is for the legislature. The legislature works for the people.
right.
So good for them.
And if they know they can talk to you and they can be heard, I mean, that can actually diffuse a lot of things too, as long as you're
Right.
being sincere about listening to them.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can just steer them in a different direction to where they can get help. I wanted to talk a little bit about your campaign. Are you looking for places to put your signs? Are you looking for
Oh,
people
absolutely.
to
I
help?
mean, I'm always happy to have a sign location, especially on a busy street.
Is it all throughout the county?
It's
I
all
mean,
throughout the county, yeah.
So not just Nashua, it's...
Nashua, Manchester, all the way up to Hillsborough and out to Peterborough. It includes Pelham, but it doesn't include Wyndham.
right?
So that's a pretty big area to cover. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's great to have it's great to have signs out, but it's great to have it in front of a house.
Right.
That's an endorsement.
It means
I mean,
more.
name recognition is important, but an endorsement, you know, because it's in front of somebody's house is even better.
If people want to contribute to your campaign, or if they want to help you out,
Yeah. I would suggest-
or get onto your mailing list so that they can know where you're going to be speaking next. I'm sure you have some speaking engagements.
Yeah.
How do they get in touch with you?
Well, I'm on Facebook. That's an easy way to get in touch with me.
Right.
And you can look at dchoganlaw.com.
DC Logan,
DC Hogan.
DC Hogan, that's all.
Law.com. Facebook's probably the easiest thing, you know.
Right.
You get on Facebook, send a message. It's
Yeah.
pretty simple.
Just
see my
friend.
pictures and.
All right, friend him and he'll say yes,
Yeah,
right?
and there's, you know, I have a page too, so you can go on that and see different videos like this that
Right.
we're able to, you know, post that way.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Is there a
and, you know,
phone number?
My base, the phone number, you can find it there on the website. I don't,
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a specific, on the website, you have
Yeah.
I've noticed that you've been on Amherst Street there making phone calls and stuff like that too.
Oh
You
yeah,
were
I
there.
mean, it's a team sport, this politics, right?
Yeah.
So, you know,
Gotcha.
we got to work together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And get you know, get to. I've always worked, even during primaries. I'll say, look, if you guys are going out door to door, I'll carry your stuff. You're carrying my stuff. You know, I've carried one week I'm with one guy, and the other week I'm with his opponent. You know, but if you're out there working, I'll go out there and work with you.
Super.
I've done that. Yeah.
Anything else
And,
you want our
well,
viewers to know?
basically, my campaign is Dennis Hogan's doing a great job. How do you know he's doing a great job? You don't see his name in the papers. You know, my name's in the papers when they're prosecuting somebody. But boy, if I had done something to make things blow up,
Right.
you'd know all about it. And
Yeah.
I've just done the job the way it's supposed to be done because I did the research, so I had a concept for how the job was supposed to be done, and I've executed, you know, that concept. And you know, it's partly personality, but partly just studying what management is.
Yeah.
And of course, it takes the personality to just be able to dispassionately go through that to do it. So, you know, the job couldn't be a better fit for me, and I think people are getting their money's worth by voting for me. So please vote for me again. Thanks.
All right. Good enough. Well, thanks for coming on The People's View,
Oh, you're welcome.
and we wish you the best.
All right, thank
All
you.
right. All
Thanks
right.
very much.
Okay. Well, that's The People's View, and I'm Representative Kevin Avard with Mr. Hogan here, running for county attorney. And if you want to get in touch with him, check out his website. And if you've got a sign location, he definitely would appreciate you to have a sign put on your lawn. So until next week, thank you for joining us on The People's View.